والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. نستغفر الله ربنا من كل ذنب ونتوب إليك. ربنا زدنا علما. اللهم يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح آمين يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Okay, inshallah, we'll start today from ayah number 41. I'll do a bit of recitation and then do some explanation of these ayat, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا صاحب السجن أما أحدكما فيسقي ربه خمرا وأما الآخر فيصلب فتأكل الطير من رأسه قضي الأمر الذي فيه تستفتيان وقال للذي ظن أنه ناج منهما اذكرني عند ربك فأنساه الشيطان ذكر ربه فلبث في السجن بضع سنين وقال الملك ائتوني وقال الملك إني أرى 7 بقرات سمان يأكلهن 7 عجاف و7 سنبلات خضر وأخر يابسات يا أيها الملأ أفتوني في رؤياي إن كنتم للرؤيا تعبرون قالوا أضغاث أحلام وما نحن بتأويل الأحلام بعالمين. رب اشرح صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So inshallah, let's begin. Ayah number 41. So just the last conversation we had was a da'wah between Yusuf alayhi salam and the 2 young men, right? Yusuf alayhi salam calling them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And gave an extensive speech last time. And so now we're going to get to the interpretation of dream itself, right? The interpretation of dream, ayah number 41, Allah says here, Ya sahiba is-sijn, O the companions, O my companions of the prison, right? So this is a statement out of love, right? Out of care for the inmates, okay? Ya sahiba is-sijn, O my companions of the prison, right? أَمَّا أَحَدُكُمَا فَيَسْقِي رَبَّهُ خَمْرًا. As for one of you, he is going to be serving wine to his master. وَأَمَّا الْآخَرُ. As for the other, فَيُصْلَبُ. He's going to be crucified, he's going to be killed. فَتَأْكُلُ الطَّيْرُ مِنْ رَأْسِهِ. And the birds are going to eat from his head. قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ الَّذِي فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ. This matter, the matter has been decreed for the one who were seeking, an opinion of it, explanation of it. Okay, I'll just do the translation of the next ayah as well. وقال الذي ظن أنه ناج منهما اذكرني عند ربك فأنساه الشيطان ذكر ربي فلبث في السجن بضع سنين. And the one, so he said to the one who he was sure that he is going to be rescued, meaning Yusuf as-salam said to the one who was going to be rescued that اذكرني عند ربك, mention me near your master. فأنساه الشيطان. But Shaitan made him forget the remembrance of his master. Shaitan made him forget who Allah is, who his master is. And as a result, فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ. He remained in the prison for some time, for a few more years. We'll talk about that in the detail of ayah number 42, inshallah, when we get to the explanation. Okay, so let's leave it there and let's talk about it, and then I will cover 2 more ayat. So inshallah, hopefully we can get to ayah number 45 today. Okay, no, 44. Yeah. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, Ya sahiba is-sijn, O the companions of the inmate. So he's gonna give the explanation, he's gonna tell them what the dream exactly meant. So one of them obviously says, you're gonna be saved, you're gonna go back to your master, you're gonna be pressing wine. So pressing wine, you can imagine, is not a ordinary job, right? Because it is a delicacy, right? It is used, used by the elites mainly. Obviously, not everybody can afford alcohol and wine. So pressing, making wine must be a really good, high paying job. So you're going to go back, you're going to have the same old life, good job, good, position, good everything. So yeah, فَيَسْقِي رَبَّهُ خَمْرًا, you'll be serving. So serving the king, meaning close, you're close to the king, right? Rabbahu doesn't have to be king, actually his master. He's gonna be serving to the master directly. So very, very high position. So he's gonna get that. وَأَمَّا الْآخَرُ, as for the other, he is going to be eaten, meaning his skull is going to be opened up and the birds are going to eat from his head. So now, how is he killed? Maybe he's crucified in public, something done in public, right? So he's left as an ayah for everybody else. You better take a lesson from him, don't become like this person, right? Also, the skull is the hardest part of the hardest bone in the entire body, right? The skull and also the rib cage, right? It's important for 210 exam. Okay. So, so yeah, for those of you studying anatomy, we know that, right? So this is why, because obviously the brain is one of the most important organ, needs to be protected. So it's one of the most, strongest bone, and the heart needs to be also protected. So it's covered by this rib cage. So these are the two, strongest. So if the birds are eating from his head, they're not eating from his skull. They're actually cracking open the skull, right? The vulture is probably coming, like, like breaking his head, right? Or maybe he's smashed on the head and the head is exposed and the birds are eating. Whatever the case is, a very graphic image, right, of birds eating from the head, right, and ripping his skull, ripping his entire body, right. And so what's interesting here is that Yusuf alayhi salam uses a third person to refer to this, right? He doesn't. So he starts from the second person. All my companions of the prison. He's talking to them. As for one of them, he's going to be doing this. As for the other, he's going to be, the birds going to eat from his head. Why? Because he doesn't want, obviously, to make the thing more painful. You are going to have a good life. And the one who's about to be killed, he might feel like, oh my God, he's getting, and the one who's getting the kill, you're gonna get killed. And he might be in denial, he might attack Yusuf alayhi salam, things like that. Like, how could you say that to me? I don't really accept this, whatever it is. So he keeps a distance from them. He says, focus on the message, right? Not the messenger, right? Don't shoot the messenger. This is so he keeps in the third person to reduce the pain, first of all. One of the meaning is to reduce the pain, and also to get them to focus on the actual message itself. Okay. So what's also beautiful is that Yusuf alayhi salam, before talking to them about the dream, he prepares them, right? So if somebody's gonna get the news, oh, that dream means you're dead, like he might just have a psychological breakdown, right? He might we don't know what he might die before that even, right? Something can happen to him, we don't know. So before even telling the people about the bad news, he prepares them. He says, look, your master is the most powerful, Allah is the most powerful, I mean, lahul wahidul qahar. This is Allah has favored us. You be grateful. You'll have a good life, you'll have a good hereafter, you'll have a good future. He prepares them, with his master, and then he tells them the dream, right? So something to learn also, that when we are giving some good news or bad news, we have to prepare the people, right? That you prepare them so that the people who are happy don't become extremely happy. That just because you're leaving the prison doesn't mean that you're free to do whatever you want. You have a Rabb above you, right? You're still a slave. You're still bound to some laws, right? And also the one who is getting the bad news doesn't lose himself. لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم ولا تفرحوا بما آتاكم, right? It's a balance a believer needs to have, that you don't get overjoyed with the happiness and you don't get really sad when sad news is there. Islam and the recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala balances you, right? Keeps you in that balance in the best way possible, right? Okay. Another thing to note, also learn, is that Yusuf alayhi salam does not hide the truth because it might hurt the listeners. He doesn't say, what? I mean, let me just give the good stuff. This happens to a lot of khatibs. If you give a khutbah, you want to give khutbah that's gonna make people like, wow, brother, that really touched my heart, Jazakallah khair, you're the good, you're an amazing khatib, but you don't want to speak the truth, like the hard truth, right? Or what would they think? And let me give them things that will make them happy. Because if I speak things about them, they might not like me, and then I might get rejection. I don't want that to happen, right? That's a very important lesson also here, is that messengers came to do two things. Messengers came to do Bashir and Nadir both. They came to give good news, and they also came to warn the people. You should not be the guy who only gives good news, good news, good news, and not tell the people about the hard truth, about the hard reality of the Muslim Ummah. And it doesn't have to be non-Muslims. who don't like your news. It may be sometimes the Muslims who don't really like what Allah says, right? You say them, this is what the ayah means, brother. No, 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 I don't think so. Like, I think we should reinterpret this ayah. We're living in 21st century. This is that. They'll try to come up with excuses to not. So we might have, as believers ourselves, we might even do that. So we should not be, honest to the truth and follow the truth for what it is, right? And don't try to reinterpret. If you reinterpret the ayat to kind of fit your own desires, then your God is your desires, right? You got to be true to what the ayat are, what the truth is. In this case, Yusuf salam speaking the exact truth. Okay. So then he goes on, last part of the ayah. قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ الَّذِي فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ. The matter has been decreed about which you both inquire. Right? This has been decided, decreed. Decreed by who? Not mentioned, but obviously it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has decided this for you. This dream is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's Allah who has decided this matter to you. Your Rabb is in control of all of these things. This is the best thing for you possible. فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ. Right? What you are inquiring about. Interesting word here. Istaftiyan comes from the same root as fata. Right? Fata means youth, young person, right? A youth has a lot of energy, right? Someone who has a lot of energy, someone who has a lot of things to do, right? Who wants to do things. And similarly, istaftiyan is to seek an opinion that will make you energetic, that will make you happy, that will make you energized like a youth will be empowered, right? So this is an interpretation to what you are seeking, right? The meaning you're seeking, you're looking forward for, right? And so that's what the قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ الَّذِي فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ. Here is the matter has been decreed with which you are asking about. Okay. Um, Okay, so also, قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ الَّذِي فِيهِ تَسْتَفْتِيَانِ, how is that empowering? Right? What is the other meaning of empowering? Okay, the guy who's going to be saved, okay, it's an empowering news for him. He's going to be happy. He's in the prison, but he's already free. He feels he's energized, he's ready, it's istaftiyan for him. But how about the other guy who's going to be killed? How is that an empowering thing for him, happy thing for him? And Yusuf al-Islam basically is saying that, look, I have given you something way more than just interpretation of the dream. I've given you the knowledge of this deen. I've given you the ilm of who Allah is, what tawheed is. I have given you all this knowledge because hopefully that empowers you, that makes you a better person. You see the quality of a muhsinin again here, that Yusuf alayhi salam, he gives people more than what they deserve, right? They ask for a dream, but he says, no, let me give you something more than that, right? And when he does bad, he does less bad than what is deserving. And when he does good, he does more than what's deserving, right? That's what the muhsin is. Okay. And so he says, your life and death has been decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Accept this fate and rely on your Rabb and prepare yourself for this. Okay. Okay. So that's it for that ayah. But before we move on to ayah number 42, it's just that entire, I just want to talk about da'wah quickly, that you could actually make an entire book out of the speech of Yusuf alayhi salam, right? For those of you into da'wah, trying to like call people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you follow this step by step, because Allah has given this for a reason, right? This benefit is guided for us. So I'm just gonna probably just mention the title of the chapter, and hopefully we can develop more case studies, more examples on each chapter, inshallah, and build on that. The first thing we see in da'wah, right? Maybe you can call it chapter 1 of this da'wah book, and that is, let your character be the first invitation. Let your character be the first invitation, right? They see him, inna naraka min muhsinin. We see you as somebody who is muhsinin. We see you as somebody amazing. So they were already impressed by his character. So you don't really need to tell people about Islam. You just live Islam. You just be the best version of yourself, right? And be a muhsin. Try to be a muhsin and give more than what they deserve and do less bad, right? So inna naraka min muhsinin. That's the first thing here. Let your character be the first invitation. Second chapter, we can call it, be a good listener. Be a good listener. Hear people out. Okay? So he's listening to their concern. What is your concern? Let me be genuine and listen to what you have to say. Right? In da'wah, what happens a lot of times, I know you have to say something, but I have something more important to say. And here, blah, blah, blah. You just don't even respond, just straight get to your point. No, hear people out, understand what their problem is, right? Chapter 3, we can call it, let your concern for them be known. Let your concern for them be known. Meaning that, like, show that, look, I really care for your, and I want to help you out. But in the meantime, here's the thing, right? So let your concern be known. Like, before the food comes, I'll tell you what the interpretation of this dream is. I'll help you out, but here's something important to know. Okay. So that's another thing. Chapter we can call chapter 4 of this book. We can call it, if you don't have knowledge to help, then say you can't. Okay, if you don't have the knowledge. So we always think, okay, I'm a Muslim, I need to help them so that they know how amazing Islam is. And so even if there's a thing that you don't even really know, you want to jump in and, like, try to do something about it, right? So you don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong. And if you know something, don't stay back. Rather, go ahead and help. Like in the case of Yusuf salam, he says, yeah, "Adhalikuma mimma allamani Rabbi." Allah has taught me this, so I'm going to help you with what I know. Okay, so that's another chapter. Chapter 5 of this dawah book, we can call it, thank Allah in front of them, because you got to help them, right? Thank Allah in front of them. You should thank Allah that you were able to help them, right? I'm so grateful to Allah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me this tawfiq. Allah gave me this ability to help you, brother, help you, sister. You know why? Because one of the big questions in da'wah is shukr, gratitude. Who do I be grateful to? Who do I show gratitude to? Allah, the concept of God is later. The first concept, the first thing that everyone needs, everyone has questions about it. Like, who do I give thanks to? Who deserves my thanks? Right? That's why we have the first word in the Quran, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. He is the Rabb of the Alameen. So, of course, He deserves all praise and thanks. So, it's answering one of the very important philosophical question of a lot of atheists and a lot of people who don't believe in Allah. So chapter 5 is thank Allah. Say that, whatever you know is because of Allah. Not, don't praise yourself, rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? That's chapter 5. Chapter 6, if you go to the same sequence, we see that Yusuf alayhi salam talks about his own life. Inni taraktu millata qawmin. Right? Wattaba'tu millata abai. Share your story. That's chapter 6. Share your story briefly. Tell people, why are you a believer? Why do you want to follow Islam? Right? What makes you a believer, right? Why do you want to follow this? So share your story, right? Inni taraktu millata qawmin la yu'minu billah. Right? That's chapter 6 of this dawah book. Chapter 7, it could be share how blessed you are to follow one God. Share how blessed you are to follow one God. Because of Tawheed, share with people, because of Tawheed, what are the benefits you have received, right? How has this changed your life, right? And Islam, in fact, is the only religion on the face of this earth that believes in one God, like we believe nobody else believes in. Like the ultimate power belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Love, kindness, wisdom, all belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So share with people, like, how has this changed you, right? And how, like, exactly how Yusuf as-salam does. ذَلِكَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ عَلَيْنَا وَعَلَى النَّاسِ. Right? This is a favor of Allah upon us. Allah has blessed us with this, right? Chapter number 8, honor the people. Honor the people, right? How did Yusuf alayhi salam honor the people here? What does he use to honor them?
Yes,
Yeah, very good. Twice, right? Ya sahiba sijin, ya sahiba sijin. Oh, my companions, he's honoring them. He says, you're my friends. You are my close buddies. If you have a position that no other person has, like, you call them with respect, right? As soon as you start a conversation with respect, you've already gained, you've already done half of your da'wah, right? Be respectful. Don't be like, oh, look at your dress. Look at the way, don't humiliate the people, right? Don't put them down, honor them, respect them, and that's how you should kind of quote, put some coding on your speech. Okay. Chapter number 9 of this book, pose questions. In your da'wah, you should pose questions. Is one God better or multiple gods? And one master, is it easy to please one master or multiple forces? Right? So pose questions, let the people think about it, right? And ponder and come to their own conclusions. Okay. Chapter number 10, so just 12 chapters in total. So chapter number 10 of this dawah book would be bold to say the wrong, right? Call the wrong as wrong, right? Be bold to speak up the truth, right? What you're doing is not the truth. right? مَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِهِ إِلَّا أَسْمَاءً. Whatever you worship besides Allah, these are just names you have made up, right? Or your forefathers have made up. Allah has not revealed anything like that, right? So don't be, so like say the truth, be bold, don't hide it, but out of respect, of course. Chapter number 11 is practice this faith yourself. ذَلِكَ الدِّينُ الْقَيِّمُ. This is the upright faith. Stick to it, right? Hold on to it. Even if the society doesn't follow it, you stick to it, you follow it, right? You hold on to its values. We talked about yesterday. And last but not least is that you should be honest in your help. Okay. Um, be honest in your help in your help for others, right? Like you really want to help them, right? Um, so so these are the some of the things, steps in doing da'wah. Okay. Okay, anyway, so let's move on, inshallah. So ayah number 42. وَقَالَ الَّذِي ظَنَّ أَنَّهُ نَاجٍ مِّنْهُ مَذْكُرٌ. Now the one so Yusuf alayhi salam now speaks to the one who is going to be rescued, right? He was certain that he's going to be rescued from both from the two of them. He tells him, "Udhkurni inda rabbik." Mention me near your master. Okay, then Shaitan made him forget the remembrance of his Rabb, and as a result, he remained in the prison for a few more years. So a few things to talk about here. The word dhanna means to be really certain about something, or also means to assume. It has opposite meanings. Okay, so how does that make sense? Dhanna means to be convinced of something, right? To have firm conviction. That's what dhanna is. So a person can have conviction by by listening to the actual evidences, right? He can go through all the real evidences and say, okay, yeah, I'm certain that this is the truth. Or a person can be convinced with just a WhatsApp message or something, not actual evidences, but just like some tertiary something hearsay here and there. But a person can be convinced. That's weak evidence. But at the end, both of them have won. Both of them have won. Dhanna means conviction. They are convinced that this is the truth. But one of them, his conviction is based on real evidence. Other one, his conviction is based on poor evidences, right? Not good evidences. So that's why dhanna could mean like certain, somebody who's really certain, or also assuming, because he's assuming based on wrong evidences or poor evidences. Anyways, so dhanna has that opposite meaning. So here is Yusuf alayhi salam, who's sure, who's certain that he's going to be rescued. وَقَالَ لِلَّذِي ظَنَّ. Right? He said to the one who was certain, أَنَّهُ نَاجٍ, that he's going to be rescued, مِنْهُمَا اذْكُرْنِي عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ. Mention to me near your Rabb. So this is a huge conversation, many different opinions, many two opinions on this as to who this Rabb is, and the Rabbika mentioned near your Rabb, or what does it mean Shaitan made him forget. The entire ayah is a lot of ambiguity, a lot of differences. I'll just mention the strongest one and move on, inshallah. And so اذكرني عند ربك, mention me near your Rabb. He's not saying mention me to your Rabb. Okay, Rabb obviously he refers to his master, right? The one who he's going to serve drink to, right? So when you go to your master, mention me in his presence. Okay, like maybe bring up my name, like Yusuf, or talk to somebody and loudly speak about Yusuf, right? Just mention my name, Yusuf. Okay, that's what it means. Doesn't mean go and directly tell to the king, about Yusuf, that not really, because it's inda, near my Rabb, right? Near my Rabb, when he's with the elite circle, in the elite circle, try to mention my name. Okay, so what's gonna happen as a result? They will remember. So why is he mentioning that? Okay, let's talk about that first before we move on with the fansahu shaitan. So why is he mentioning that? We know that Yusuf alayhi salam was known to be a muhsinin, right? He was muhsinin among the Egyptians too, among the elite class. Everyone saw him differently. Everyone knew this guy is not normal. To the point that even the Aziz kept him in a different position, right? And he was honored, and especially the elite class, they all know about Yusuf. Also, it's not an Egyptian name, it's a foreign name. People remember that. And his deeds speak a lot. People remember the muhsinin, right? When people are good to you, you always remember them, right? Like you will forget everybody else, but the people who did like special favors to you in times of need, you always remember them. This guy was a muhsinin. oh, that sister was a muhsina, she really helped me out in my difficult time. So Yusuf alayhi salam is a muhsinin, and so his name is remembered, and so his name has a natural power. Just Yusuf will trigger something. Well, like Yusuf, that same Yusuf, right? Especially in the elite circle, people know him because of the incident that took place, right? Atta and Aydiyahun, the woman who cut the hand and all that. So people kind of know him. Even at the palace, he's known differently, right? Even when the Aziz is speaking to to Yusuf alayhi salam after that, the whole incident with that with his wife, here he says, Yusuf, أعرض عن هذا. Yusuf, let it go, okay? Okay, so everything will be all right. And he's yelling at the wife, right? As if like he's a master and he's a slave, right? It's like it's flipped. So the people saw this guy's not normal, right? He's someone different. So the name Yusuf had a different meaning, natural power, because Allah gave him hukman and ilman, right? Always the power to do the right decision and have the right knowledge. People recognize that he was a muhsineen. And so he says, mention my name. And once this happens, people will be like, oh, Yusuf, where is this guy? I thought he's somewhere else. He disappeared somewhere, and people will start talking about this. News will spread, investigation will start, and that will be a means for me to be out of the prison. So that's what he's saying. Okay. So remember me, ذكر ربي عند ربك, right? Mention me near your master, right? And a few lessons we learn from that, inshallah, and that is that success, right? This is how a scholar describes success, right? For a believer, success is when we use all the resources in this world to do good while we stay in the limits set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, that's how he defines success. I'll repeat that. Success, according to the standards of the Quran, success is when you use all the resources of this world to do the best thing possible for humanity while staying in the limits set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not crossing the boundaries set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And so why is that important? Yusuf alayhi salam, now he had to come out of the prison, right? And he knows that Allah will save him. Of course, that's, Allah will save him, but he still makes his effort. He does whatever possible, whatever means possible to get out of the prison, right? Even if that means it's a long shot he's taking, trying to like, just go and tell my master, I'm just hopeful that, this will just trigger something. Like, whatever he can do, maybe it may not happen, but he's doing everything possible from the worldly point of view to save himself. He's not just sitting down in the prison, Allah save me, Allah save me, Allah save me, Allah save me. No, he's not just making dua, he's making the effort. And that's very important, that success is not just dua, success is not just worldly efforts, but a combination of both, right? And this we have seen a lot in Fatiha and many other places, but we see that again here, that he's repeating that, right? That concept is repeated here.
When we're talking about Utkun,
Yeah.
would that mean that in a way, if any scholar would have commented about it, like the only way I'm thinking, how can you remember a person or how can you remember me, is by telling your own story, like how you got out.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to go and just shout out the name Yusuf. He can just tell his story,
Oh.
and someone can overhear, and then it spreads like wildfire. And then
So these are all, yeah, just اذكرني عند ربك. So mention me near your Rabb. So it could be many ways you can understand that. Yeah. So it could mean that just tell the people how you got out. Tell about me. Make sure you mention my name. The point is mention my name.
I mean, his name would generally come
Yeah,
up.
would come up.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're telling a story,
Yeah.
and the thing is, maybe the youth does not know if he's
Yeah.
known outside or not.
Yeah. So that's an interpretation, but the ayah doesn't really specify that. Like for you to say, like he could say, when you go out, tell your story. فَقْصُصِ قَصَصَكَ, right? فَقْصُلْ قَصَصَكَ, right? Something like that. Or tell people how you got out of the prison, or tell about. So that's what he's saying. I guess you could tell about me. Yeah. I guess you can think of like that.
Well, I mean,
Tell about me.
Like, you can only, the thing is, I'm thinking from a practical perspective.
Yeah.
How would you remember someone?
Yeah.
If I remember what he did.
What he did, yeah.
And you can only
How I did good. Yeah, definitely. So yeah. So the point I was making here is that you put all your effort. Even a prophet is teaching us how to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How tawakkul works, a prophet of Allah is teaching us. Right? You need to make the effort, whatever means possible, and then rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like Musa alayhi salam's mother. Right? Just a side point here. Musa alayhi salam's mother, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Musa alayhi salam's mother, Inna raduhu ilayki. We are going to return him to you, isn't it? We are going to return him to you. Just trust me, put the basket in the river and let it go. I will return him to you. Now, if I tell you, like let's say I borrow something from you, I borrow a book from you or something, I say, you know what, I'm just borrowing this book, I'll return it back to you. Right? Does it mean, what does that mean? That you don't have to go anywhere, I'll come back and give it to you, right? Isn't that what it means? Like you don't have to come to me, I'll come to you. Like Radu, I will return it to you. Just take it easy. But Musa alayhi salam's mother, even though she knows Allah will return the baby back, she still makes the effort and sends her daughter to go follow the basket, right? Go after the basket, make the effort, whatever possible, so that he comes back to us. Okay, so this is tawakkul at its peak, right? Okay, so then what happens then? وَقَالَ لِلَّذِي ظَنَّ أَنَّهُ نَاجٍ مِنْهُمْ اذْكُرْنِي. So remember me in the presence of your master. فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ. So shaitan made him forget his Rabb. So there's two ways of understanding this. Ansahu shaitan. Shaitan made him forget, meaning the cupbearer or the bartender, whatever you want to call it, he forgot about, he forgot to tell his master about Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay, he forgot to tell his. There's two interpretations. I'll talk about the first one first, and then the second one also. The second one is actually stronger. First is that he forgot to tell his master about Yusuf alayhi salam, right? And Yusuf alayhi salam is not mentioned in the ayah. That's why the first one is not very solid. But anyway, so he forgot. So who forgot? Actually, shaitan made him forget. Bansahu shaitan. Shaitan made the bartender forget about Yusuf alayhi salam, that he had to mention him to his master. Okay. As a result of that, Yusuf alayhi salam remained in the prison for some time, for a few more years. Okay. A bid'ah could be 3 to 9 years. Okay, that's what bid'ah is, 3 to 9 years. So he probably stayed, we don't know how many years, 3 to 9 years. He's 3 to 9 years more he stayed in the prison. Okay. And the other meaning is that ansahu shaitanu dhikra rabbihi, that shaitan made him forget the remembrance of his master, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So shaitan made this guy forget about Allah. All that speech, if you see the context of the ayat, is about Allah, 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 your Rabb, your Rabb, your Rabb, your Rabb. Entire da'wah is going on. And he really made sure who the Rabb is, beginning to end, all Rabb. Right? He's teaching them who Allah is. And then we get this ayah of shaitan made him forget his Rabb, meaning he forgot about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He forgot about the favors Allah has done to him. That he got out, even in the Quran, we see this concept that when Allah gives people blessing, they forget about Allah. When people don't have the blessings, they're always remembering Him. As soon as Allah gives them something, they forget about it. Right? Surah Al-Fajr too. Right? So like subhanallah. So that type, something like that happened because it's very true to the language too. So for Ansaw Shaitan, Dhikra Rabbi. That's it. You don't have to add anything. For the other one, you have to add a few things to make sense out of it. Wallahu alam. So now a few lessons to draw from that, inshallah. That is number one, is that when we forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we will forget the favors of people on us. Okay? When you don't remember Allah, when you don't do shukr to Allah, you will not do shukr to the people. Right? You will not return the favor of people. Right? لا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم. Don't be like those who forgot Allah. Allah will make them forget themselves. So this guy forgot about Allah, that Allah saved him, Allah took him out of here, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Yusuf alayhi salam the means, to like give him comfort, and all that, but he forgot all of that. He doesn't even, he put him at ease. Yusuf taught him about Allah. Yusuf taught him about the dream that put him at ease, but he forgot about all those favors and he continued his life. So that's one thing to learn here. The other thing is the word shaitan. Shaitan, we know that shaitan is our enemy, right? Shaitan is our enemy. Shaitan will come and attack you from different ways. We talked about this, right? From the front, from the back, from the right, from the left. Shaitan will attack you from all different directions, right? And shaitan will try to harm you. And the way shaitan harms you, one way shaitan harms you is he comes directly at you and makes you jealous of others. He puts, arrogance inside you, or self-conceited, that's inside you, ujub inside you, right? All kind of things, he comes inside you and attacks you. But if you recognize the traps of shaitan, you may be safe from that. But the other way shaitan can attack you is through other people. Shaitan can attack you from other people. How can he do that? He can go to other people and he can tell, whisper, put negative feelings about you in their heart, right? Nazagh, this is called nazagh. وَإِمَّا يَنزَغَنَّكَ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ نَزْغٌ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. If shaitan comes with nazar, so you tell something negative about somebody else, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Right? Shaitan can do that, come and whisper things about you. And that's one. Or shaitan can make the other people forget about the favor that they're about to do to you. Right? Somebody was supposed to do good to you, and shaitan will make them forget about that favor. That's how he can harm you. So no good comes to you. So one way of harming you is make bad thing comes to you, or make sure the good doesn't come to you from them. Right? And here we see shaitan attacking in the second way, that he's enticing the other people to sorry, he's telling them, making them forget about the favors. And so as a result, Yusuf Islam is hurt further, and he remains in the prison for a longer time. Okay, so those are some of the lessons from ayah number 42. Move on to ayah number 43. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ, ayah number 43, I'm not going to really explain much. Ayah number 44, I'll explain inshallah and conclude with that. So ayah number 43, now we get to the dream. Okay? وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ إِنِّي أَرَى سَبَعَ بَقَرَاتٍ سِمَانٍ. So the king says, indeed, I keep seeing, ara, present tense, right? Not ra'aytu, but ara. I keep seeing again and again and again. Ara was also used for the two men in the prison, right? Arani a'siru khamra. Ara also used again here. Ara is used for Ibrahim alayhi salam. So ara, I keep seeing. What do I see? This is a Malik. Okay, Malik is a king. There's a whole research on why Malik is used, not Fir'aun. Okay, I'll leave that for later. Just a word choice, because Fir'aun, the term Fir'aun, it's the same thing as Malik, right? But we see that for Musa alayhi salam's time, always Fir'aun is used, never Malik. For you at Yusuf Aslam's time, it's Malik used, Fir'aun never used, right? And it has to do with the time period where the word was used differently, right? Fir'aun was initially used for a palace, and then it got used later on, it got used only for the people, right? The people, pharaohs. So that's why. But yeah, Fir'aun itself was a palace, imagine. So if Allah used palace at this time, so if Allah used Fir'aun at this time, it would mean palace. It won't make sense, of course. But it doesn't refer to people at the time of Yusuf alayhi salam. Fir'aun refers to place. Okay. But anyway, so the Quran is very precise, and this was only discovered, by the way, in 19th century. That how the Egyptians use the term differently. Before that, nobody knew it's interchangeable, right? For 7th century Arab, it's interchangeable. It doesn't make a big difference. But Quran makes a choice of choosing exact words, right? Fir'aun for that period, Malik for this period, very precise, because as we discover, dig into history and understand Egyptian history, it was discovered in 19th century. There's actual research done also, that this is why Firaun is not used for that at the time of Yusuf alayhi salam. Anyways, وقال الملك, so the king said, indeed, I keep seeing again and again, سبع بقرات سمان, 7 fat cows, يأكلهن, they are being eaten by سبع عجاف, by 7 thin cows. وسبع سنبلات خضر, and 7 ears, green ears, أخرى يابسات, are being eaten by 7, sorry, not eaten, so 7 green stalks, and وأخرى يابسات, and other that are dried stalks. Okay, this is a dream, right? So you see 7 cows, fat cows being eaten by the lean ones, and then he sees some green spikes and also some dry ones. So this is a dream he keeps having again and again and again. And so he shares this with his mala, right? His parliament MPs, right? Members, close cabinet members, whatnot. Ya ayyuhal mala. Mala is referring to the cabinet members, somebody who fills the room, right? The mala, the people of the council. Aftuni fi ru'yaya. Inform me, give me the interpretation of my dream, of my vision. In kuntum liru'ya ta'burun, if you are indeed of those who interpret, right? Who give the explanation of dreams. Okay? What is the response of these people? قالوا أضغاث أحلام. They said أضغاث أحلام. These are confused. This is a confused dream, a false dream, a mixture of false dreams, right? Mixed up dream, right? وما نحن بتأويل الأحلام بعالمين. And we are not the people who have the knowledge to interpret, right? Interpret the dreams, right? We're not learned in the interpretation of dreams. Okay, so let's think about this ayah, inshallah, and see what lessons we can derive. Again, every detail Allah mentioned is not just to move the story forward, rather Allah mentions these details to teach us something, right? To help us reflect and benefit from this, inshallah. So one thing we notice here is that dream interpretation was a common thing in the Egyptian culture, right? Just like today, if you have a physical symptoms, you go to the doctor, like, no, I'm having this pain, please let me know. Back in the days, if they had dream, it had to be interpreted. That's why Yusuf Salam has a dream, then you have it, that's interpreted, then these two young men, because it was in the culture. No, I want somebody to interpret my dream. Like, I don't know what this means, right? It was there, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is a wisdom of Allah, right? It's a sunnah of Allah actually, that when He sends prophets, He sends the prophets with the best possible thing of that time, right? If the best thing of that time is, let's say, medicine, then Allah sends a prophet who has the knowledge of medicine, like Isa alayhi salam. If the best thing of that time, the elite class type of thing, the highest knowledge is magic, then Allah sends prophet with magic, like Musa alayhi salam, right? So every prophet came with whatever the power or the height, all right, or the special thing of that era is. So for the Arabs in that time period, in that location, it was the poetry. So Allah brings the best poetry, right? Best of speech, which is the Quran. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends Yusuf alayhi salam with the interpretation of dream because that was a thing of that culture. Okay. So now they say adghath ahlam is a mixed up dream, king. What do you mean fat cow eating, being eaten by thin cows? We don't know. We can't really make the, कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है, like it's sar or tongue, it's all mixed up, it's all the same boat. We can't really make any sense out of it. All right, this is not a true dream. It's just, yeah, it's whatever, just forget about it, let it go, not a big deal. And by the way, we don't really interpret dreams. You see the contradiction in the statement. What is the contradiction?
On one side they're saying the dream is messed up.
Yeah.
On the other side they're saying you actually know.
Yeah, exactly. It's a contradiction, right? They don't know the interpretation of dream, then shut your mouth. But yeah, it's like, it's you're just confused, you know. Like, why they do this? If you don't know the answer to something, you dismiss the question itself, right? That's
It's
true.
like someone else. Okay, yeah, you must be having gas, but I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think you must be. It's always gas. I do the same thing actually. Yeah, it must be. And we're so sure, right? If you get a headache, it must be it's the gas. It has to be the gas. Everything is gas.
But I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor. I don't really know the reason, but I'm pretty sure it's like, what do you mean, pretty sure? Anyway, so don't give any interpretation if you're not qualified. But you know why people do this? Like, if you don't know the answer to something, instead of saying I don't know, you say the question is wrong. Like, you're messed up. And why is that important for these guys? These guys, they're hired, right? They're getting paid to, right? Whatever their job is, they're supposed to counsel the king, right? If I hire somebody, for example, and if they don't do the job, will I keep them? No, I would not keep them. I mean, if you're not doing the job they hire, why am I wasting the money? I will just fire you. So these guys want to maintain their position near the king. So if they say, well, I don't know, we don't really know what this means. Well, screw you guys, you're a waste of my, money and my waste of the space here. Get lost, you're fired. But they want to say something about it. And they say, boss, you're clearly at fault. You don't know what you're saying. Okay, that's what they're saying, right? So you can understand these are people who are not genuine to what the society wants. Rather, these are people who want to maintain their position. Okay. And that's one aspect we see about these people. But on the flip side, anybody who doesn't have the knowledge would say the same thing, right? At least the second part. I am not alimin, I don't know the interpretation of this dream. So in a sense, they are in a way they are correct, but they should not be interpreting the dream if they don't know. So now few things to look into this, right? And ponder and reflect. And you guys are free to, inshallah, share your reflections from this. Like, what is the wisdom for me in these ayat? Why is Allah mentioning this dream? And Allah mentions the response, very specific response that Allah mentions to us. What is the wisdom behind that? What is the guidance for us in this? So one thing to note here is that you don't have to be a believer to have true dreams. You don't have to be a believer to have true dreams. Even a non-Muslim can have true dreams. Okay. So a dream is a way of, revelation is a revelation, and Allah can give that to a non-Muslim also. Right? It can come through some vision, can come, like maybe an issue, a world issue is happening, and Allah just gives an insight to somebody in their dream that you should do this, and that turns out to be the best possible solution. So it's possible, right? So the true dreams are coming to the king here, and also to the young men who are non-Muslims, who also got the dream, right? So don't think that you are somehow special, that Allah likes you or Allah loves you because you get true dreams. Like, we should never have that arrogance. Like, if we think, oh, I'm somehow better, that's why Allah showing me this dream. No, you're not, right? If you're not, that means nothing. Okay. That's one. Another thing we learned is that Allah is the best of planners. We see the beautiful plan of Allah in action, right? We always looking from one aspect. Oh, shaitan is, making him forget this. Shaitan is doing this. These people are doing this. But where is Allah in all of this? Allah is in full action. Allah's plan is greater than anybody else's plan. If you think about this, it was supposed to be that the cupbearer was supposed to remind the king about Yusuf alayhi salam, isn't it? Right? He was supposed to go tell the king, Yusuf, he saved me, he helped me out, blah, blah, blah. And that way, but in fact, it turns out that it is a king who's going to remind the cupbearer about Yusuf alayhi salam. How's that? Well, yeah, it's gonna come up, right? We're gonna get the Yusuf ayyuha Siddiq. So as soon as he mentions a dream, I don't know what the dream means. The cupbearer, like, dream interpretation. Today, I know somebody, right? So subhanallah, look at this. It was supposed to be this guy reminding the king, oh, Yusuf. It turns out he is getting like reminder. Oh, thank you, king, for that. I was supposed to do the same thing. I actually forgot. But you see Allah's plan here. It is Allah who instilled this dream, gave this dream to the king, who was able to then ask, and he kept getting this dream. So Allah is in plan. We can really understand how is Allah planning this. How Allah is in action, we can't really make out. But Allah is always there. Wallahu ghalibun ala amrihi. Remember that? Allah is overpowering all situations, but most people do not know. Right? So also another thing here is that shaitan, here's a very important point here, right? We might be blaming shaitan here. Hey, shaitan made him forget. A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim. Shaitan is very powerful. Shaitan is very strong. Because of shaitan, Yusuf alayhi salam had to suffer for a few more years. But you know what? It was a plan of Allah that shaitan had to do this. Like, even though shaitan is trying to do some harm, but it was in a greater scheme of Allah, greater in our scheme, or a plan of Allah, wisdom of Allah, that this should happen. Because if shaitan did not make him forget, let's say he went and he told the king about Yusuf alayhi salam, maybe there might be some spark and that will be it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala waited till the king gets a dream. Again and again and again and again. That's when Allah wanted Yusuf alayhi salam to be exposed. Not before that. So shaitan made him forget, yes, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a better plan for Yusuf alayhi salam. Keep going, live for a few more years, but the outcome is going to be greater, better than before, right? And look, one response of Allah destroyed all the plans of the devil. The devil might be planning a lot of things, scheming. Yusuf should not get any benefit. He should forget. This should happen. Any plan you can imagine, shaitan is trying to, come and, stop you from doing the right thing and hurt you in every way possible. But one plan of Allah, one step of Allah will destroy all the other plans of the devil. Right? SubhanAllah. This is like an insane wisdom we learn, right? Something from the unseen worlds. We learn about how Allah is in action. Allah is in full view of everything. And we can't really know the unseen unless we have unseen knowledge. Um, forgot to mention this point actually, about unseen. Some people, they say that, brother, if I ask some help from my mechanic to fix my car, isn't that shirk? Brother, We are supposed to be asking Allah only, you know? Why are we asking this mechanic? Isn't that shirk? How do you understand that? Okay, keep your answer when I get to that. Okay, if that's the case, then I should go and ask a soothsayer or something about the future, like what the future is about. Like, if that is not shirk, then this is also not shirk. Then I should also ask magicians about things, soothsayers about things, right? I should be able to tell some sheikh or some hazrat to kind of change someone's heart for somebody else and make this guy love this girl instead of this girl, or make a hatred people. I should be able to do that too. Like, so how come this is shirk? That's not shirk. Like, how do you understand this? Yes.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, on one side, you are talking about knowledge which Allah has actually taught us. It's from the taught knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has already given in this world. You go to an expert for that. But matters of unseen are not in our hands.
Yeah.
Like, matters of unseen to, like, the future, or even seher, and like seher uses, like, you make use of, like, communication with the jinns and everything. So you're going into the unseen. That's not the realm you're going.
Very good. Yeah, that is exactly the answer. Actually, a very important one. In the seen world, we are allowed to get an expert's advice in the seen world, right? What is the best option? Like, I'm signing this contract right here. You get a lawyer. Could you go through this and let me know if everything is, in my favor? That's fine. That's not shirk. That's using the expertise Allah has given, the knowledge Allah has given, and using it to the best of your ability, right? But in the unseen world, nobody has the knowledge to it except Allah. Right? What will happen to your heart? Nobody knows. Only Allah can control people's hearts. Right? What the future holds, nobody knows. Right? So going and asking people about the future is shirk, because that knowledge nobody has. Right? If something from the Quran, then we can rely on that. So, but a lot of Muslims are always giving interpretation on the unseen. It's just like, I'm like baffled really how Shaitan has taken and trapped them so well. This thing happened because that person's nazar has touched you. Like, how do you know that? What is nazar, first of all? Anyways, but again, the thing is, that person, I saw the way they're looking at you. It must be like, what unseen power are you seeing? Like, did you see any electric shock? Did you test this out? That some waves went like boom, like, this thing happened, right? Or this thing happened to you because you just committed such and such sin. You committed sin, right? That's why you lost your job. That's why you had a horrible mark on the test, because you did that sin last night. Like, so that means a non-Muslim who got much better than me, okay, much better mark than me, has a lesser sin than me because he's a non-Muslim. Like, how does it, like, what if he's doing way more, like, much worse sins? Like, what if somebody is like killing somebody and his IQ is like, I don't know, he's a genius? So how come? Right? So these things, because of this, people lose faith. People can answer the question. The unseen world, nobody knows. Forget about it. Dunya, you make the effort, you get it. That's the rule in this dunya. And Allah is in action though. Allah is in full plan. Allah says in the Quran, وَكَذَلِكَ حَقًّا عَلَيْنَا نُنْجِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. It is incumbent on us that we save the believers. We have to rescue the believers. That's incumbent on us, mandatory on us. We will rescue the believers. Allah is also in action. Allah is also at play. But don't judge the unseen if you don't know when we don't know the knowledge of it. Yes.
I mean, the way people are interpreting, I understand. Like, they're going to an extreme. They're tapping into things which they shouldn't have. They don't have understanding of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Ain is a truth, right?
It is.
There. Like, there are a lot of du'as of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that he used to even read in Hassan saying about Ain, Hasad and Ain.
Hasidin idha hasad.
Yeah, I mean, again, like,
When
we
they-
don't know when someone is jealous. I get that part. Like,
Yeah.
the way we're interpreting when someone's jealous and why someone's jealous and all that, I agree that's the unseen
Yeah.
part. But, like, just for someone's protection, like when the Prophet ﷺ has taught us du'as about it,
You
and
should-
even there are hadith saying that that the evil eye is true. There are hadith about that. So it is there, I mean, just clarifying, like, it's there, but like the way people are interpreting, I get it. Like, like, okay, this person gave me that,
See,
that person gave me
I'll give you, so just look at the surah itself. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ, right? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ. All of them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ. Just explain this ayah for you, okay? From the evil of what Allah created. مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ. Allah created evil from the evil. From the evil of what Allah created. What that means is everything Allah created has a potential to be good, is good actually, but it has a potential to be bad actually. It's good, but it has a potential to be bad. Everything Allah created is good, pure. Okay? So for example, think about water. Water, beneficial. In its essence, beneficial. Has a potential to harm, like tsunami, things like that. It can harm, a drought, whatever, diseases, whatnot. Okay? Same thing with human beings. Good, but they have a potential to harm. Okay? A person is good, but then he has a hasad inside him that has a potential to harm somebody. Hasidin idha hasad. Okay, so this hasad, whenever he is having jealousy and he's acting on it, that's a harmful part. Insan on his own is good. Okay, that's how you understand ayn. So what that means is like, yeah, like nobody can harm me if they don't take the action of evil towards me. They can't just sit there and harm me. You know what I mean? Nobody can just sit and harm anybody doing nothing. They have to say something, spread rumors about you. Some action have to happen. Only amal affects you, not some supernatural thing that we don't even know. Like what is that? Like what is a means of conveying? Like what is a means of harming? Like some jinn is taking this and harming, or like how is this happening? You have to, like, because of hasad, you're gonna take a truck or something and, like, smash their car, like kill them. Or because of hasad, you share some wrong information about them in the social media or something. Like that is what you have to seek refuge from. That's a consequence of hasad, right? So that's hope it's clear, inshallah.
I have a lot more questions.
Okay, we'll continue, inshallah, after. Yeah. Because then if you think about LeBron James, for example, like,
So I mean, like,
he's shooting, and because of hasad, oh my God, he's missing out the 3 pointers after, never shooting, because people put ayn on him. And nobody says mashallah.
That part, like, I believe interpreting is not
Yeah.
the way it should be. That I understand. Like,
Yeah.
about this whole big example.
Yeah.
But then there's another aspect to the hadith. About,
We can discuss, inshallah.
We can discuss about it.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of hadith where the Prophet ﷺ is just like, give some context and why he's reading on Hassan Hussein.
Yeah.
Like, he's reading on that.
We'll go through that. I'm interested to know also more, inshallah. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so yeah, that's the ayah, but I just want to highlight a few very important lessons, inshallah, and we'll finish there. So we got the part on Allah's plan. Yes, so always know that Allah has a better plan, greater plan, better plan than anybody else. So always have hope in Allah. Another thing we see is that the prophetic knowledge does not only benefit us in the hereafter, but also benefit us in this world. Okay, prophetic knowledge, the knowledge of the Quran, knowledge of the Prophet, knowledge from the Prophet or from any of the prophets, does not only benefit us in the akhirah. They not only do benefit akhirah, but dunya also, because he's giving the interpretation of that dream, and that dream is going to save Egypt, right? If that dream is not interpreted correctly, then what's going to happen is that there will be a huge economic disaster. When there's an economic disaster, obviously what follows that is political disaster, then social disaster, then a health disaster. Then you can imagine everything breaks down. It's like a huge tsunami will come and destroy the entire city because of that dream is not interpreted. But the prophets came not only to better our akhirah, but also our dunya. So when you follow the Quran, when you follow the principles in the Quran or the hadith, not only benefiting the akhirah, yes, it's there, but it's something profoundly being changed and improvised in this dunya for you, from your character, right? From whatever things, the way you look at things. Okay, that's another lesson to take away from that. Another lesson is that revelation always comes above science. Okay, revelation comes above science. Okay, let's say there is a scenario where ayah is saying something. It's clear interpretation, clear understanding of the ayah. There's no ambiguity in the ayah. It's clearly this what it says. And the scientific fact, not a theory, it's a fact, is completely saying the opposite of that. Okay, what would you choose? Right? And the answer to that is, question is wrong. It will never happen a case where revelation is 100% correct and science is 100% correct and they will contradict. That will never happen. It's impossible, right? But what if revelation is there? It's 100% sure, right? It's clear, no ambiguity in the interpretation of it. One interpretation, clear, everything. And then there's some scientific fact, not a fact yet, but a lot of people follow it, a lot of people accept it, but it's not no empirical evidence, nothing like that. What do you do with that? You always keep the revelation on top, right? Revelation on top, of course. Like, no way. Especially with the cases of the future, predicting the future. In the future, this was going to happen. Science predicts something. It's only going to be a prediction. You can never claim it 100%. Based on your historical fact, you can say this is what the future will be like. Based on the statistical data, this is what it'd be like. But nobody can predict it 100%. But Revelation says this is the future. We know that's the future. We always believe that. Take it. So Yusuf alayhi salam here is interpreting something about the future. And if there are any scientists from today, right, let's say PhDs, doctors, things like that, and they are gonna like listen to this, they're like, oh, this Yusuf, brother Yusuf, there's something wrong with this, there's some dementia happening, he has lost his mind, he's just we don't believe in revelation, we don't take this as seriously. We reject that. That's not an evidence. We reject that. But subhanAllah, that's what revelation always comes above science. Okay, if they contradict, you always choose revelation. If they contradict, they will never. But always, Quran says something, be convinced of it, even though all of the data shows otherwise. Like all of these greatest minds, by the way, the people who are sitting there are the greatest people of their time. If these are the cabinet members, the advisors of the king, you can imagine they're the best minds, and yet they are not able to see, right? Another lesson here, a very important lesson, is that the dream was given to both. We're going to get to that. I'm just jumping a little bit. But tomorrow, the next ayat, we will not spend much time because I'm already covering it now. Yusuf alayhi salam is going to be shown this dream too, or will be told this dream, right? And he will say, this is the future of Egypt. You got to start saving now. For the next 7 years, I know from 7 years from now, there's a huge disaster coming. Start saving now, okay? So he sees a future of Egypt in this dream. And yet the same dream was also shared with these greatest minds of their time. And they're like, oh, this is just confused dream. What do we see here? One person is seeing this dream from the lens of revelation. The other is seeing this dream from the lens of dunya. And you will have different solutions, right? The solution to the problems of today's time is when we look at the problems from the lens of the Quran. If I were to change the lighting to red here in this room, everything will look red. If I change it to blue, it will look blue. If I turn on some extra light here, what would happen? I would see things that I didn't see a minute ago, even though there is light, but because of that next level of light, I'm able to see things differently. Quran is called light. With that light, when you see the worlds, then you see different things that other people could not see it. Like maybe underneath that couch, the darkness, most people could not see. The solution is underneath that, and you see the light there. Understand what I mean? Like you will see solutions where other people could not have seen, because you're seeing it from the lens of the Quran, right? What I'm trying to say is that you and me, as students of the Quran, right? You and me have a great opportunity to serve humanity because we are able to see the world from the lens of the Quran. I hope at least we can. I try to. Like, what does Quran say about this? Where can I go in the Quran and find solution to this problem of humanity, or this problem of my personal life, or this problem of my family life? You can see, you can find a solution. And subhanAllah, Yusuf alayhi salam is able to see that and save thousands of people. Right? That's I think, a very powerful lesson to take away on that note. And last but not least, is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a skill, something you're good at, and you put it to use, in the right place, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you more opportunities to become the best at it. Right? Allah gives you more and more chance to excel at it, and you become, until you get the title Muhsinun, right? The Muhsin. So Yusuf alayhi salam is given a skill, right? He's humble to Allah for that skill, right? He puts that skill to good use. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him more opportunities. Oh, look, you were not selfish in your interpretation of your dream, of the dream of those two men. You kept giving the right opinion. You use this to good use, put this to good use, and now I'm going to bless you with another opportunity to interpret the dream of this king, right? And subhanAllah, and that way you're going to become muhsinun. So you and me can all become muhsinun. If you're good at writing, if you're good at speaking, if you're good at whatever skill Allah has given you, use that skill to benefit humanity. And through that, you will earn the title muhsinun, right? And it is only the muhsinun, Allah says, I give them hukman and ilman. True knowledge I give them, and true understanding, the power to make right decisions I give them, because they always make the right decisions in the first place. They're always muhsinun in the first place, so I give them, greater ihsan, greater level of muhsin, ihsan to them, right? So those are some of the lessons, that based on, some of the reflections of this ayah, I was able to come up with. And inshallah, if you have anything else you want to share, inshallah, you're more than welcome to. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a true understanding of these ayat and make every ayah a means of guidance for us, and for the humanity as well, right? And may Allah subhanahu give us a true understanding of His kitab, right? Not what people say, not what other tell us to believe, rather what the book of Allah is telling us. We follow that and be true to the truth, right? Be loyal to the truth and not to any person or any group. So we'll end here with a small dua, and then after dua, if you can take some questions and reflections. سبحان الله بحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم فقهنا في الدين اللهم فقهنا في الدين اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاك الله خير. If you have any reflections, questions, we can ask inshallah. Yep.
I see this happens very commonly in workplaces. Sometimes a problem is brought to us.
Yep.
And then we comment like, it sounds like a complicated problem, but I'm not an expert. I'm not giving an interpretation, I'm not giving an answer. Because the answer of those Mala was like, sounds a confused dream, but we're not an expert.
Yeah.
Is that a wrong thing to do?
Is that a wrong?
Here, I'm not doing, because the thing is, I'm not, when I was reading the ayat or understanding it, did not give an interpretation.
Yeah.
It sounds like a confused dream, but we're not an expert. We've never done it before.
See,
so is that a wrong thing?
Confused dream is an interpretation, right?
Like it seems a confused dream to me. I mean, like in a way,
They didn't say that.
like,
It's it's not. Is they're saying what they're saying is not a true dream. Ad-Daghath. Like it's not a true dream. They are actually giving an interpretation.
Okay, so but still in
But-
that regard, when I'm saying
Yeah, I get your point. So with your, like, if you say, I'm not really sure what this means, I'm not an expert at this. Okay, something like that, right?
it's
I don't think
confusing
anything.
for me.
I don't think I don't think anything is wrong with that. Like, I mean, you're not.
Answers on a daily basis.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So if you say that I'm not an expert at this, but it sounds complicated. Yeah, something like you're giving an interpretation. Yeah. I mean, if you really have to be true, you should even avoid that. If you're really accurate, like, and true, okay, I'm not an expert at this, so I can't really help you. Like, I would do that just to avoid, because just so that you don't want to be categorized as a liar, because you're already giving an interpretation, like, it's confused, or is this, is that, so I would avoid that. I would avoid that though. right? But yeah, right. Wallahu alam, I knows best. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So we'll leave it here, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry. So tomorrow is Sunday. So no class Sunday. We'll resume on Monday, inshallah. Okay. All right. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.